Hello, welcome. This is Nimasa this week. Have you reached out to the people around you? Please do. Family, friends, talk to them, find out how they are doing. That is a form of staying abreast with people during this period of COVID-19, the pandemic. Now, a lot of people are working from home, but there are some people who cannot work from home. Seafarers, for instance, cannot do their work online, neither can they work from home. They're very special people. And so the IMO has a message for those who are seafaring, something that they could do to stay safe and keep everybody protected. There are different types of mammals out there in the sea. One of them recently died and was washed ashore in River State. What mammal? How did it happen? We'll tell you about it later on. And also, those at the forefront of fighting COVID-19, the pandemic in the maritime sector, had a meeting recently with the Nimasa management, the outcome of which I'll share with you today on the program. This is Nimasa This Week. My name is Cordelia Obey, and I say welcome.
The coronavirus pandemic is real. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, wants you to stay safe. Observe social distancing by avoiding crowded areas. Cough or sneeze into a curved elbow or into a tissue, which should be disposed of immediately. Wash your hands regularly with soap or use hand sanitizers. And most importantly, stay at home and follow health and safety advice coming from the NCDC and the WHO. Together, we will win the war against the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. Nimasa, changing the tide in your favor.
Despite the coronavirus pandemic, Nimasa has said that it will not permit any form of illegalities like illegal ship scrapping along Nigerian coastlines, especially in Lagos. He made this quite clear when he played host to the officers and men of the Western Naval Command when they paid a visit to him in his office.
To the best of our knowledge, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency were not aware of granting any approval for people to go and construct scrap yards along our own waterways. To the best of my knowledge, this is contrary to the laid down rules. And this, we will have to sit down and talk to the Nigerian Navy whether they are aware. If they are not, we get the authorities concerned so that we will not allow illegality to continue to proliferate around our own water lines.
Now, did you know that seafaring is one of the most difficult jobs in the world? Yes, seafarers, sailors and co, are exposed to a lot of things when they're out there in the high seas. Now, during this pandemic, a lot of them have been facing some challenges too. The IMO is aware of these challenges being faced by the seafarers, and the Secretary General of the IMO had a message for seafarers and the nations of the world.
You are not alone. You are not forgotten. So said IMO Secretary General Kitak Lim in a moving personal message to seafarers everywhere, assuring them that IMO understands the unique problems they face during the coronavirus pandemic and has been working tirelessly at all levels to find solutions for them. Hundreds of ships sailing have been cancelled as trade have been reduced in line with the slowing global economy, and ports all over the world have either closed or drastically cut their operations. But restrictions on travel and personal movement adopted by most countries have left many seafarers stranded on board ships, unable to disembark or be replaced by relief crews. Others find themselves stuck in hotels without pay and unable to get flights home. Estimates suggests that every month, 100,000 seafarers finish their contracts and would normally be flown home. But the coronavirus has had a huge negative impact on this repatriation process. Since the start of the global lockdown, IMO has been in urgent contact with trade unions, seafarer welfare organizations, ship owners, governments, and fellow United Nations agencies, especially the International Labour Organization, to try and find solutions. Mr. Lim said he had been deeply touched by the many stories we've heard from individual seafarers of the challenges, hardships, and sacrifices that seafarers have made to keep the global supply chain moving while helping the global population. He noted the difficulties the maritime industry has faced in conducting crew changeovers, providing medical care for sick and injured crew, and allowing for shore leave, and added, the inability to resupply or repatriate crews concerns me greatly. Describing seafarers as being in the front line of the global fight against the pandemic, Mr. Lim said, "All of us at IMO understand the challenges you face." He added, "To all seafarers, my message to you is strong and clear. We are listening. We hear you." Secretary General Lim has written to all IMO member states, urging them to recognize all seafarers as key workers, remove any barriers to their documentation, and lift national travel restrictions so that they can get home on conclusion of their contracts and rejoin their families. And, wherever possible, IMO staff have been working round the clock to help bring individual cases to a speedy resolution. In Nigeria, not only are seafarers at work, the frontline officers of Nimasa conducting port and flag state inspection in these difficult times are also at work. The agency's Director General, Dr. Bashir Yusuf Jamo, who spoke through the head of Safety and Seafarer Standards Department, Captain Sunday Umorin, says Nimasa is committed to the continuity of shipping in Nigeria despite the pandemic.
The IMO did call for pragmatic approach in posted to ensure that shipping is kept going, knowing that shipping is the lifeline of the economy of the world. And so Nimasa has followed suit. We have released two marine notices to the world, telling them our own steps, the things we are doing, managing the certificates of the vessels, and also ensuring that the crew are given all the attentions, all the respect as accorded to them based on MLC 2006 requirements and stipulations. So we are fully compliant. In terms of the safety of our officials, which is paramount to the agency, they are all properly kitted. The mask, the goggle, the earplugs, gloves, and the attires. So they are properly kitted, and they are maintaining minimal contact with the crew on board the vessel. We do our intelligence inspection first before going. If there's the need to physically visit the vessel, then we make that as short as possible. So they are well taken care of. We have a guideline guiding the operations during this period.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. We are charting the direction for our maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are Nimasa. New face, rejuvenated service. Nimasa, changing the tides in your favor.
When the COVID pandemic hit the world, the maritime sector had a lot to do too. And Nimasa had to put in place some guidelines to ensure that everything is in order, not just to protect the maritime sector from the pandemic, but also to ensure that we still have safe and secure waters to work with. Now, some of these guidelines were seen by stakeholders as being too stringent. So they had a session with the Nimasa management to see how they could make things more palatable for all those involved. Nimasa did listen, and a meeting again was held with stakeholders to really look through some of these things. This time, it was with port health officers and also members of the immigration services working at the ports.
When the matter came up, everybody was confused. We don't know how things will fall and how we are going to do it. But we are receiving the first feedback now. And we will go back to the drawing board, look at what you said, continue to adjust as the case may be up to the time we get out of this mess entirely.
That was DG Nimasa, Dr. Bashir Jamo, assuring stakeholders that the new policies introduced due to the COVID-19 global pandemic will be implemented with the best interest of all concerned. To ensure that all stakeholders in the sector are on the same page as regards the implementation of the content of the Marine Notice, the DG directed a series of meetings.
The DG directed that in a bid to accommodate everybody, the agency felt the need that the Port Health Services should work hand in hand with the agency and see how we collaborate to ensure that we meet some needs. To this end, the Director General is desirous of ensuring that we will go ahead if given the clearance. We're going to talk to NCDC and some other bodies to ensure we're giving clearance. We want to be able to test our seafarers and ensure that they are COVID-19 free before we allow them to embark on any vessel or get close to our vessels.
So the first set of visitors were the port health officers, and they are the first set of people who come in contact with seafarers on board vessels calling at Nigerian ports.
What Nimasa actually is doing in related with agencies such as Port Health is to make sure those practical steps are adhered to, basic health standards that has been mentioned time and over time while on board, and even assure social distance, having sanitizer, keep to minimum basic health standards while on board and ashore.
After the port health officers, the agency also met with immigration personnel who work at the nation's seaports.
We're looking for an avenue for such collaboration. Synergy is something that is very important in every organization's operation. So I'm very, very happy about this. I'm looking forward for more collaboration in Nimasa because we are all stakeholders in the marine industry.
We are now merging health and safety together to work out a very good avenue for all people that are accessing Port Apapa Port. And those workers that interfere with any ship that come and dock in our berths.
It's a very trying time for everybody, particularly the industry, because we must sustain this economy and the stakeholders have a big role to play. It's not an easy time for us all, but we must all go out there to ensure we do our bits so that we can sustain the economy and also ensure we do the work we are called to do while being safe. We must keep safe to be able to do the work. We need to be healthy, we need to be alive to do the work. Therefore, we must observe every protocol as given by NCDC and the World Health Organization to ensure that we keep safe. And at the same time, while we keep safe, ensure that the safety of our workers are also not jeopardized or in any way put in harm's way. We need to ensure that we need to do everything possible, every needful to ensure that we get them working.
This is an announcement from the Office of the Registrar of Ships. As we continue to hope for the best in these trying times, when the whole world is battling with COVID-19, we pledge to continue to play our roles even as we adhere to directives from constituted authorities. To minimize physical contacts, please consider the following alternative channels for your inquiries and follow-up action. Email registrarofships@nimasa.gov.ng. Telephone WhatsApp 0702 513 7601, Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Marine pollution is one major thing Nimasa is very concerned about. Now, the pollution could come from dead things. You would have seen in the news a shoal of fishes washed ashore recently in the Niger Delta. What caused this? Why did so many fishes get washed ashore? Nimasa is investigating to really find out what happened. How come all those dead fishes appeared on the shorelines of coastal states like Cross River, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Delta?
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency received a distress call to their Bonny office about dead fishes which suddenly appeared on the shores of Bonny and Andoni local government areas. The fishes were seen lying dead and littered the shoreline from Lighthouse all the way to Ifoko on the fringe of the boundary between Bonny and Andoni local government areas in River State. The fish were mainly the croaker species. Nimasa Assistant Director, Marine Environment Management in Bonny Island, Nebonta James, led a team that visited the area. Immediately signals from our radio room were transmitted to the MEM officers. Samples have been taken to the laboratory for further investigation. The agency has put out a warning to the general public, especially the fish folk in the affected areas, about the dangers of consuming or selling the dead fish to unsuspecting members of the public. Director General of Nimasa, Dr. Bashir Jamo, said, "We are working with relevant scientific experts to isolate the cause of the abnormal issue of dead fish along the Niger Delta coastline. We want to identify the cause and establish what can be done to alleviate the adverse effects of this occurrence on the people and the marine environment in the affected areas. While we are working to decipher and mitigate this strange incident, we appeal to locals in the affected communities and those who trade in aquatic animals to avoid consumption and sale of the dead fish, as such acts may carry criminal liabilities, especially with regard to deliberate sale of the dead fish to the public." Dr. Jamo said that the tripodal investigation would involve an examination of the dead fish as well as water and sediment analysis. Nimasa has the mandate to regulate and protect the country's marine environment as provided for in the Merchant Shipping Act of 2007 and in compliance with the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships of 1973, as modified by the Protocol of 1978, MARPOL 1973-78, and other relevant instruments aimed at protecting the maritime domain.
Now, you would have seen staff of Nimasa doing some work there because, as I told you earlier, they are carrying out investigations to find out what happened in those coastal states. That means some few frontline officers are still working very hard at the agency to find out what truly is going on and how well these people are being taken care of. We spoke with the head of admin and human resources at the agency, Mrs. Ronke Thomas, and she told us that taking care of these frontline officers is a priority.
Unlike before, that you have different enforcement teams in the departments going together, which was quite a large number, now it's been reduced to the barest minimum, and they must be protected. Even while they go on these enforcement and code, they also have to observe the social distancing. At the moment, we have a committee, a COVID committee, who is ensuring that all staff will be educated. You know, by the time that most staff come back to the office next week, they'll be educated on the do's and don'ts that they have to observe during this COVID-19 pandemic. We had to issue a circular to all departments that they had to just drastically reduce the number of staff that come to the office. That it should just be essential staff that are coming. And we've been able to reduce the workforce by about 80%. So it's just about 20% that come in on essential duty. And when they come in, we observe the social distancing. We also ensure that everybody has hand sanitizers and that they wear their face masks, very important. And even at the gate, as you come in, the temperature of people is taken to ensure that there's no abnormal high temperature for the people accessing the building. And we also ensure that it's just key stakeholders that are coming, mostly the shipping companies, the cabotage operators, or those who access the ship registry. Visitors have been banned totally from coming into the building. Likewise, all kinds of people, maybe vendors of different kinds. Even food now, people are encouraged to bring their food from home. Those are part of the measures that the agency has put in place. The advice I'll have for Nigerians now is that definitely we have to realize that things have changed. Nigerians generally are hospitable people who, when we see ourselves, we hug ourselves, we shake ourselves, but now this has to stop. We have to seriously observe the social distancing. We have to observe the washing of hands, the frequent use of the alcohol-based sanitizers. We have to wear our face masks. For now, we just have to avoid all forms of gatherings. We've seen that even the Lagos State government has said, whatever gathering we have, there shouldn't be more than 20 people. So we just have to mostly stay at home for now. If you watch the numbers daily, they are still rising. So essentially, only essential places like you're coming to work and other important places are where people are advised to go at this particular point in time.
Nimasa wants us to stay safe so we can stay alive. Observe social distancing, avoid crowded areas, wash your hands regularly with soap or use alcohol-based hand sanitizers. And most importantly, stay at home. Together, we shall win the war against this coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa.
Partnerships are essential in tackling the global issue of marine plastic litter. The International Maritime Organization, IMO, and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, have formally signed an agreement to move forward and jointly implement the Glow Litter Partnerships project, initially launched in December 2019 with funding from Norway to prevent and reduce marine plastic litter from shipping and fisheries. The Glow Litter project will help developing countries to identify opportunities to prevent and reduce marine litter, including plastic litter, from within the maritime transport and fisheries sectors, and to decrease the use of plastics in these industries. It will help to achieve one of the specific targets in the Global Sustainable Development Goal (SDG) to prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, in particular from land-based activities, including marine debris and nutrient pollution, by 2025. The agreement was signed on 14 April 2020 by Dr. Jose Mateical, Chief of the Department of Partnerships and Projects, IMO, and Roberto Ridolfi, Assistant Director General of FAO.
Thank you very much for being a part of the program. In case you need to know more about the maritime sector from the comfort of your home, you can just visit the Nimasa website or on social media. Follow her on all her platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. They are all at Nimasa Official, at Nimasa Official. Face masks and social distancing, they go hand in hand. Always remember that. See you next time. My name is Cordelia Ogbe. Bye-bye.